Good morning. Today I'm going to do a tutorial on how to do this, footprints in the sand. It's in a coaster mold, but I don't think you can use it as a coaster because it's textured. I left the texture on purpose because I think it enhances the piece. This is the first one I've done. It was yesterday. I was asked if I could do a tutorial video on it. And since I planned on making another one today, I figured why not. So I've just poured my resin into a cup. It's Let's Resin, casting resin, ratio 1:1. I have a total of 6 ounces here. And while I do the painstaking act of mixing this, I will kind of explain what I'm going to do, I think. So if you can see my work area, it is busy, to say the least. I always have several projects going on. It's very rare that I don't have something else going on my mat, and I always have things in reserve to put extra resin in. Not sure what you can see because of the sunshine in here, but I will briefly stop this task of stirring to show you my workspace. So I've got this, I work on a heat mat and I make crosses as a mission. And I use these quite a bit for extra resin. But right now I'm making extra of these for Bible school coming up in June. So I made this shell dish yesterday with leftover resin from the footprints piece. It came out so much better than I expected it to. I was basically just trying to find a place to put all this leftover resin. You can't see a lot of this in the top, but it kind of shows through and it's really pretty. And hopefully if I have enough today, which I mixed up way too much resin, so I will make this again. So I've never done a tutorial, and I don't know if I've said that. I'm a little nervous. I'm going to continue stirring this Let's Resin casting resin. I am not an expert on how to not get bubbles in here while stirring. It is a never-ending battle with bubbles. For me, anyway. It's a little chilly in my room, so everything is a little thicker, which will make more bubbles. And I'm impatient, so I don't even know why I didn't do this in advance, but now you're stuck with me. So I don't know if you can see let me get this in the frame. So this is my prep. I have my little silicone inlay feet, which I got from eBay. I think her name was Michelle, and her store name is Glitz and Glitter, or maybe it's Glitz and Glamour. Anyway, they got here really fast, and they are so cute. It came with 10, and they're alternating, which is good because that makes footprints. And I have my little pieces that I want to put around the feet into the sand. I have my sand in a cup over here. Wow, I'm really bad at this. And I'll be mixing that I have all of my cups waiting for resin and color. I have a little bit of more coarser sand, it's like little tiny rocks really, that I want to put in this one that I didn't put in the last one. And I have all of my colors, which I'm using this white resin paste. I use it a lot for blooms, but I also use it for color. And I think it worked well on my waves yesterday, period. I didn't want anything special. I just wanted them to contrast the rest of the color. So I'm going to be using this. I'm using Let's Resin mica powders, green, regular blue, and sky blue. So I think that's all of my, I'm still mixing. It takes a minute, especially when it's cold. If you can see the swirly, stringy look of the resin still, it is not mixed properly yet. So it takes, once it becomes clear, it's ready for use. It's ready to be poured. And one way that I like to get rid of these bubbles, and I know I'm not stirring properly, but one way that I get rid of the bubbles after it's completely mixed is to separate into smaller cups. Also, when I put mica powder in any cup, I add isopropyl alcohol. Right now I'm using 91% isopropyl alcohol for spraying for all of my purposes. But I would recommend not going below 91% because the lower you go, the more water content there is in the alcohol, which is not good for resin. So I'll give you a little bit of background. My name is Debbie. I am a 21-year military veteran. I retired from the Coast Guard in 2007. I am happily married to my wonderful husband. We've been together for 35 years. I have a dog. Her name is Daisy. She is a miniature Australian Shepherd. She will be 7 years old this year in April. She has been an amazing addition to our family, and I'm amazed by her every day, period. Oh, I said period. I'm so used to dictating. Now I feel silly, but it's okay. Silly is good. So I started doing epoxy resin at the end of July. I started with a Let's Resin beginner's kit. It had a little pyramid, a little cube. It came with the bottles of epoxy and some tools, some gloves, some glitter, and add-ins. We're almost there. Almost there with this resin. And I made a couple things, and even though they were horrible, I was hooked on the process and the possible outcomes. So I ordered another beginner's kit with different stuff in it. I want to say it was coasters, but honestly I don't remember now at this point. Even though it was only a few months ago, it feels like I've been doing this for a very long time. And I attribute all of this, everything, my life, everything, to God. If it wasn't for God being in my life, I can't even imagine how I would have gotten through a lot of the things that I've had to go through. So we are giving all the glory to God. I am anyway, and I pray that you are as well. And I am not seeing very many stringies left in this resin. I am seeing bubbles, but I'm not worried. I do not worry about the bubbles anymore. I used to obsess about them, and I do have a vacuum chamber that if I get too vigorous in my stirring, I can put it in there. The only bad thing about that is you lose working time because it sits in there for 9 minutes. And for this, you have, I think it's 20 to 30 minutes of working time before it starts to thicken. Or should I say, starts to cure. Okay, I think we're good as far as this tedious stirring is concerned. So I'm going to put this aside for a second. And as I put it aside, it will naturally, what they call degas, which these bubbles will slowly come to the surface. And I apologize for the reflection. Like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I really can't see my phone unless I'm standing, and I'm going to tell you right now that I am not going to be standing a lot. So let's start by getting this resin off my fingers. I don't even know how that happened, but it's magic. It gets everywhere. And again, it's okay. I've got everything covered with silicone mats. If you hear a whirring sound in the background, that is my air purifier. Normally I would have a respirator on, but I can't talk through that, so we're gonna pray that everything is okay where that is concerned. So right now, I'm going to get my wits together, which is sometimes very difficult. So I'm gonna put these aside for now. Bring all of this into the focus. Hopefully you can see all of that. I'm not worried about how dirty this is because there's going to be dirt in it shortly. I hope. But I mixed enough resin. I'll tell you a funny story, which I didn't think was very funny, but it just happened for the first time today. As I was contemplating how much part A I wanted to put in my cup, I was thinking to myself I wanted 4 ounces. So that would be 2 ounces of part A and 2 ounces of part B. Well, in my brain I was thinking 4 ounces, so I poured 4 ounces of part A. Well, I don't need 8 ounces of resin right at this particular moment. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Let me move closer. Let me see what you can see. Yep, okay. So I actually had to pour some back into the jug, which I've never had to do before. So again, I'm using Let's Resin mica powders, and this is just green, and it's a beautiful green. And I love the shimmer of mica powder. I'm going to do sky blue, Let's Resin. They're all Let's Resin. I started with Let's Resin, and for some reason, I'm a little bit, as you can see, I reuse things until I just can't anymore. And I have a dog, as I said, and I get dog hair and everything, so it's just a little piece of my home going to somebody else's home. So, see, I lose my train of thought, so you're just going to have to bear with me. So I'm just going to use a separate stick for everything, if I can get it to stand up without falling over. So that's the blue. I'm gonna... So this blue here is a beautiful blue, but I made it into a paste. So it's still mica powder, but it's in paste form. It works the same basically, except you don't have to put alcohol in the resin when you mix it up. And honestly, you don't have to put alcohol in the resin anyway. It's just, it helps keep the mica powder from clumping. So I made this with part A that I had left over. So part A of the 2-part epoxy. See, look at that. There's a nice hair. Thank you. I'll get rid of that. Yikes, there's another one. Okay, so I hope you all can hear me chattering along. And I hope my fan noises are not intrusive. So that's probably plenty. I'm not gonna get too carried away with that. So let's let me put the alcohol in there. I'm a little flustered. I'm used to doing this in silence. So let's put a little bit of alcohol in there with a pipette. Oh, that's a lot of alcohol, but we're not going to use all that. So I'm just going to put it in there. It helps keep the mica powder from clumping. And it also helps release bubbles from the resin. All right, so let's pour a bit of resin in there. I'm not measuring, I hardly ever measure. They say you're only supposed to use, I don't know who they are, I hate that. Anyway, they say that you're only supposed to use about 10% color, whatever color you're using, especially alcohol ink. Alcohol ink is real funny, but I'm not using any of that today. For one thing, it's not very stable. When I say it's not stable, it's just funny. How do I describe that? It fades very quickly, especially if it's in bright light, like sunlight. Also, it can keep your piece from curing properly if you use too much. I have done many alcohol ink projects, but I also, everything that I sell, I give instructions on how to care for the resin. It's such a pretty blue. You can see it's stuck to my stick, so I'm gonna try to scrape it. Get that off of there. So I don't have my heat mat on yet, but I will very, very shortly. I have 2 windows open in my craft room. I usually have an exhaust fan in one, but it's loud, so I didn't want it to overtake the video. Okay, so that's that one. So you can see that one was the paste. So this is the one with just powder and alcohol. And the alcohol just gets rid of all those bubbles, and it does not make a single clump with the powder. And watch this. This is the coolest thing. When I let go, it moves. It just dances. I hope you can see it. I'm terrible at this. Can you see? Look, I'll do it again. Watch. See how it moves? Not the bubbles, but the mica itself. It's just beautiful. Oh, I should have done the sand first because it takes time to soak in. So I'm just going to mix this real quick, and then I'm going to do the sand, because you want to do your sand and not pour it right away. You need to let it sit for a minute so it absorbs and doesn't get all that air trapped into it. That is such a beautiful, beautiful green. And it shimmers. It's got like not shape shifting, but color shifting attributes. It's so pretty. And again, watch that. Watch that. That is so cool. It's like it's boiling. Wow. So I just want to say that this hobby, some would say it's an obsession, and I would have to agree that it is definitely an obsession. Has helped me in so many ways that, I don't even know how to begin. But surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, it has really helped my mental health. So that in itself, regardless of the cost, because this is not a cheap hobby. This can get costly. But if it helps my mental health, I believe it's worth every penny. But that's me. I do have a craft show coming up in March. It's my second craft show that I am hosting at my church. We had one at the beginning of December, and even though, that looks like kinetic sand almost, doesn't it? So even though there was several things going on in town that day, I managed to sell some things, but more importantly, I learned a lot about how to display, how to greet people. Not that I didn't know how to do that, but just very attentive to customers when they come by. And one thing I always do, and I've done from the beginning, is give them something for free. So if they buy something, I give them a signature piece. And for me, I give them owls. And I know that sounds funny, but it's a candy mold. Let me see if I can find it. Here they are. It's a candy mold, and I make these little owls. Can you see the little face? Usually with leftover resin. Here's a little black one. And everybody that orders anything from me or buys anything from me gets a little owl. I don't know why I chose owls, but I did, so there we go. So this sand is looking good. I might add some more, actually. Especially if I want to put some in that seashell. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit more. This is real sand from the bottom of the ocean that a friend of mine got for me while she was scuba diving. I forget which ocean, but the fact that it's not craft sand, it's, ooh, that's getting nice and thick. It's real sand from the ocean, and I like that there's little, hold on, let me see if I can see. There's little bits of shell. Of course, I'm not going to be able to show you any of that at the moment. There's little bits of shell and coral, and little tiny rocks. You can't see it right now, but you might when I pour it. So now let's prep this area. Oh, let me pour some white while that sand absorbs. So the little bit of white that I'm going to make is for the wave. I said at the beginning, because I've done a lot of research, I watch a lot of videos, and I said at the beginning of this that I was not going to be doing all of these beach scene waves with the shells and whatnot on the because it's overdone. Everybody does it, and it's just not special in my opinion. However, I saw a picture on one of the resin pages that I frequent of something very similar to this, and I asked where she got the feet. And the feet, I don't know if you weren't here at the beginning, I got them off of eBay. They're just soft silicone feet. I got them off of eBay. So let me mix up this white. So I wanted to bring you on for the whole process and not just the pouring, because the process is, it's quite a process. It's not just, ooh, look at that, I'm just going to go pour. No, you have to plan. You have to pull out your colors. You got to make sure you have everything ready, because you only have a small period of time to work with this stuff. So it's still very workable, as you can see. What a beautiful white. I love this pigment powder that I got off of Amazon. It's Bloom. I think I showed you. It's called Bloom. There's a lady named Julie Cutts, and she has a page on YouTube called Pouring Your Heart Out. And her videos are amazing. She is just amazing. She is in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. And she creates, she makes molds. This bloom is from her. And she's just fun to watch. And I've learned quite a bit by watching her. Right now I'm prepping by plugging in my heat gun. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my heat mat. I turn it all the way up. I'm not sure why, but I do. So yesterday, when I was messing around with all this stuff, I made several things out of the sand and the colors I was using. So this, I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, and if I had the forethought, I would have put a magnet in the back. But I really didn't know what I was going to do with it, so I put a little seashell and some of the colors in there. It's the back of it. I got to fix a little hole, but that's not a big deal. It's all part of the process. I also made some crosses. I'm in the middle of filling a custom order for these crosses. And I used leftover resin from yesterday's project to do these, and they do have a magnet in the back. So this is a custom order. I don't take a lot of orders. It's not, I don't want that pressure of, oh, I got to get this done, and I think it would take away from the joy of doing this amazing craft. I said something to my husband the other day about, I think I'm actually an artist now. And I say that and I laugh because I never ever thought of myself as an artist. What is that? I don't know what that is, but it's going to be under the sand. So for right now, I don't care. My heat mat is already warming. Like I said, I've got other projects going on. This is an egg. I'm working on an egg. I put some flowers in there. I just wanted to see how it was going to do. So I'm going to spray some alcohol. I know this says 99%, but it's 91%. I'm just reusing the bottle. I'm spraying the mold, which helps the resin get into all the little nooks and crannies. So this is going to go a little quick because I don't want this sand to spread too far up. Let me spray that just a little bit more. The sand tends to make bubbles because of its, okay, I know you can't see this, but let me see if I can make it so you can. See, it's nice and thick, but it does level out. That's the cool thing about resin, is it, see, look at it, it's like kinetic sand or silly putty or something. It's just flattening out on its own. But I'm going to try to make something very, very, very similar to what I made yesterday because I really liked it. I think it came out so much better than I thought it would, which helps a lot. You never know sometimes what's going to happen, and sometimes what you think is a failure turns into something beautiful to somebody else, or even to yourself later on when you realize that what you did was a mistake, but maybe it's a happy mistake. So, I'm sorry if I'm in the way. I'm not used to doing this, as I said. But here's where it gets fun, because now we're good. This is actually nice and thick. I like it. It's not going to travel too far. Okay, I'm going to stop playing with that. Let's move on. So we're going to place the feet, and they're going to go face down in the sand, because you want that imprint of the toes and the contour of the foot to be in the sand. So I don't have a plan for this one, but I'm going to push it down in there. So you want to make sure that you're using your alternate feet for your footprints. It's so cool. I don't know why I'm wiping it off. It's going in dirt. I guess that's just what you do. So I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I usually wear a respirator. Since I do this just about every day, I don't want to have any health problems come from that. So I usually do wear my respirator. I usually have my exhaust fan on in one window and the other window open. Okay, so let me pour some of this resin in there so it doesn't travel too far. But first, oh, it just popped itself. Let me pop a bubble. And these will dissipate for the most part. And if they don't, it's just going to add character, and that's quite okay. Character is good. Uniqueness is good. I love making one-of-a-kind pieces, especially if they come out of my muddled brain. I may or may not see if anybody else has done what I'm thinking in my head. This is not my idea. I saw this online and just fell in love with it. I ordered the feet immediately, and here we are. I used them yesterday for the first time. So I can't see my phone very well from where I'm standing, but Santana, if you're there, I'd like to say hi. Say hi to Jim, my neighbor. If you're watching, that's all I can see on my camera. Hold on, let me see if I can. Nope. Let me get off of that. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Oh, we're shaking now. Okay. We need to get some pouring done. So I can't remember which is sky blue and which is dark blue. Okay, this is the sky blue. So I'm going to do that one first. Let me see if I can do this so you can see. I'm not left-handed. Okay, I'm going to do the sky blue first, and this is going to go relatively quickly if I can stop jibber-jabbering. But first I'm going to spray it with alcohol again, so it gets into these crevices. This mold has a tendency to make bubbles around the bottom. But since this is the bottom of the piece, I'm not super concerned, because usually when I'm working with this mold, this is the bottom. And this smooth thing is so you're always working upside down. The smooth part where I just sprayed the alcohol is usually the top of the piece when finished. So now I'm going to do just a little line of green. This green is so pretty. There's no rhyme or reason. You don't have to do these colors. You don't even have to. You just do what you want. Swirl them around. You'll see that I'll move them some in a bit. But this dark blue is going to be the top. And it's starting to warm up, even though it's not on my heat mat. It's starting to warm up, which is okay, because it's still nice and fluid. So now I'm going to leave that blue, and I'm going to just keep adding more until it comes up to the level of the sand. And again, I apologize for being in the camera view. I don't really have much choice. And trust me, you don't want to see me standing here in my pajamas. So, just going to keep adding until the level of the red, dripped in the blue, the level of the colored resin comes up somewhat to the sand. Again, there's no rhyme or reason, just be happy. Make a happy palette for yourself, and you can't go wrong. I find so much joy in this craft that I can't even explain it. It's just a gift from God, and I am so amazingly grateful. Let's see, what do we need to do? Is it coming up? It is coming up. So while that's coming up, let's place these items in here. I do use tweezers because that's just what I do. So today I'm going to use a starfish. Not sure why, and sometimes these will sink. Not the starfish because it's really light, but the seashells tend to sink a bit when you put them in there. Today I'm going to put a shark's tooth in there. It may or may not sink. We will find out. Let's see, let's put it right there. It might get covered up with waves, but it's okay. I am not gonna worry about that because it's just not worth worrying about. Okay, I know I'm being a little, I just don't know exactly where I want stuff right yet. So I'm gonna put this big one right there. This one here is broken, but I love it. It's got so much character, but you gotta remember, it'll probably make a bubble, and that's okay. Oh yeah, look at that. So I try not to push them down too much because they will sink. I learned that yesterday. So I've got these tiny, tiny little pieces of some sort of shell. I don't even know what kind of shell it is, but it came in a kit, and they're kind of iridescent, so I figure why not add some shine and some sparkle. So I forgot to put these little rocks in there, but let's see if I can scatter a couple of them in there just for texture. Yeah, they're going to go right there on top of the feet, but that's okay. These might sink too. Just a chance you take. So I think we are, feels like it needs something else. Well, I'll pick those off later. Okay, maybe not. See how the resin moves as it cures. And this is going to cure fast because it's on a heat mat. I'd say fast, maybe, I think in 2 hours I'll be able to take it out of the mold. It'll still be soft, but it's able to come out of the mold at that point. But can you see how even though I put a straight line of green in there, that light blue is just spreading, which is okay because the ocean is just not like that. So I'm going to put a little bit more green in there. And see it moving. I'm trying to save a little bit of color for this seashell. Okay, so So if you wanted to, you could take a toothpick or something very gently, you don't want to scratch your mold, and swirl it around or whatever. But right now is the part that I don't really care for because my heat gun is kind of powerful. But I'm going to put a line of this white right at the shoreline. Ooh, looks like my feet might get covered up this time, but that's okay. It's all okay. So just a thin line of this white. I don't want it to be overpowering. All right, since that got so much, let's make it a little more. So this stuff tends to sink. I think it's the nature of the paste. I'll put that right there for the moment. And I'm going to get my heat gun, so it's going to be loud. And I'm going to gently try to spread that out a little bit, which will also mix these colors in the back. And my shark's tooth is definitely sinking. Okay, that'll continue to move until it settles, and I'm happy with how it looks right now. Pretty happy with how it looks right now. So really, you can see some bubbles in there. I'm going to spray it with this alcohol from a distance and see if it pops some of those bubbles. Oh yeah. All right, that should be good. So I'm gonna move this up. I think it's gonna. Ooh, that made all of it move. Turn it around. I don't think my mat is exactly level, but yeah, it's gonna come up and into my feet. It's okay. Character, right? Character, character, character. Okay, so right now, I'm gonna try to do this. Now my mold is a little wonky. It kind of pushes down right there. But you'll see me playing with it, trying to get everything down in. So I'm gonna spray it really, really well with alcohol. Really well. You can use too much alcohol, FYI. So I'm gonna take this sand that is left over. Let me try to get into a better. Okay, yeah. Let me move this a little more. I don't want to move it much. I still think it's going to be amazing. I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to add a little bit of clear to this sand because if I just plop it in there, it is not going to move. And this resin in this cup is completely clear now. No bubbles because it's been sitting. It's also getting warm, which means it's starting to cure. So my working time is being cut down, and you have to be careful if you use a heat mat to not put your resin on the heat mat, or it definitely will start curing much faster than you want it to. So I'm gonna mix this up. I might have to spray the alcohol again, but we'll find out. It does evaporate quickly. So does anybody have any questions? I can look at my screen. I'm not sure if I can answer them, but I don't even know. I can't see. I can only see that it's live and that one person is watching, but if one person is watching, that's great. Okay, I'm in the way again. I'm sorry. I didn't think I was going to use all this sand, but I'm going to. When I first started doing this craft, making a mess actually drove me crazy. I still don't like making a mess on purpose, but sometimes things get away from you. Drips happen like that in this, and glitter. Whew, I'm not a big fan of glitter, but I know it sells, so I'm just going to pick this. It's a very soft mold, but I'm just going to pick it up and make sure there's no bubbles around the edge. And I want to get some back here in this area. And this is a very good place for bubbles to form. So now I'm just going to wait. First I want to put some white in there because the white will actually spread out with the other colors I put in. And if I don't have enough colors, I can always pour some more clear in there. Again, I'm sorry for being in the view. Put a little bit of green. I'm just going to let it spread out. I may end up doing clear alternately. I don't know. A little clear probably wouldn't hurt. Let's see. This doesn't take a lot of resin, surprisingly. It looks like a big mold, but it's not too bad. Actually, there's quite a bit of sand in there. So all I'm doing is emptying out these cups and trying to get that color to spread out all of the areas. There we go. If I start singing "Ignore Me," I do that. I have to keep stopping myself. I don't want you guys to have to listen to that all the time. Alright, so get the rest of that blue in there. Such a pretty blue. So you can clean these cups if you want, but I throw them out because I don't like cleaning them. I do keep these sticks until I just can't use them anymore. I go through a lot of paper towels. But I do break them up in smaller bits, so I'm not using so much. So I'm trying to decide if I want to put this seashell over here, and I think I do. Oh, I like how it's just like lapping up onto the... Oh, do I want to put it in there? No, I don't. I think it's got enough. Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Okay, so let's put this blue in there. There's a big air bubble right there. So I like to just kind of push the color around. The sand will naturally settle to the bottom. It may or may not take color with it. It didn't yesterday, and I was okay with that. You kind of just have to be okay with how the resin is going to do its thing. Okay, so we definitely need more in here. I love this. Look, see how it's moving? It's settling down in there. Let's put some more of this blue in there, and I'm going to try to finish it with this green. It's so pretty. Might as well scrape it out of there and use it. So I don't have any plans for these things. And usually when I make stuff, I don't have plans for them. It's just an idea I need to get out of my head. Of course, I do plan certain things for the craft fairs, and the reason I created my own is because to be involved in the craft fairs where I live is expensive. So if I wanted to go to one of the craft fairs here in town and set up a table, depending on the event, it would cost $300 or so. And I may not make that much money back. So I have access to my church to be able to do stuff like that. And it's a pretty big area, and I've had other people participate with me, and I hope that they will continue to participate, because I would really like for this to be at least an annual thing. But right now I'm working on semi-annual, just to keep it moving. So if anybody in my local area is interested in participating in a craft show, I'm only charging $20 for an 8-foot table, roughly a 10 by 10 space. All right, let's see. I have the tiniest bit of sand left in here, so I am going to put it here and let it spread out. So like I said, this is not a perfect process because I really still don't know what I'm doing. I've only been doing this since July. I watch a lot of YouTube. I make a lot of mistakes, and I learn from those mistakes. So this sand is actually already spreading out. It looks good. So it's going to settle into those natural grooves on the inside of the mold that the scallop shell would have, and I will show you the one I did yesterday again. Okay, I think I'm done with that. And again, I just throw those away. Paper cups. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. The paper cups, you can't reuse those. That's just impossible. So this is the shell from yesterday. You can see how the sand just kind of settled in to those grooves. Maybe, I hope you can see it, yeah. And of course it's settled, because this is how I'm working right now. This is how the mold is, and this is how I'm working. So you got to take everything into consideration when you're working upside down. And when I put this out of the mold yesterday, I was amazed at how everything just, gosh, it's just so beautiful. And yes, I do say so myself. It is beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to pour a little bit more white in there, and then I'm going to finish it off with clear. Yeah, I need to get that stick out of there first. So these sticks that I use that have sand on them, I am not going to reuse them because I tried to clean all the sand off of them yesterday and it was not good. So let's just move this around a little bit. You're not going to see this much, I don't think, on the correct side, but it's pretty anyway. So I'm just going to finish that off with clear. And then I'm going to have to sign off because I need to make something else with this clear before it cures in the cup. And I do not like wasting resin because it's just too expensive to waste. I made too much anyway because of my mistake at the beginning. But I was distracted on what I was going to say and what I was going to do for my first, I guess you can call this a tutorial. I don't know. So I don't see, the good thing about this mold is you really can't see, I mean, you really can see if there's bubbles, big bubbles. You can't see the micro bubbles, but I don't see any big bubbles in there waiting to ruin my project. But even bubbles can be filled. I fill them a lot with UV resin and sand them down sometimes, or just try to cut them out with my deburring tool. So I've got a deburring tool that I go around the edge of things to get the sharp edge off and make it a little better. Most of the time I have to I'm losing my train of thought again. Most of the time I have to sand it down. I deburred this morning and you really can't tell. It's got the slightest little dullness around the edge, but it's not noticeable unless you know I did it. This little hole back here, you can see it, will be filled in with UV resin probably because they're kind of sharp. And I don't want to cut anybody. Well, if you have any questions on this video later, I will check back and answer them. If you asked me any questions during this video that I didn't answer, I apologize. I just cannot see my phone very well from where I am. So if you have a question now, I might be able to answer it if my phone shows me that. But this is, probably can put a little bit more in there. So let me move it into place first. And put a little bit more in there to keep that sharp edge off the bottom. So if you have any questions for me, which I am certainly not an expert, I'm happy to try to answer them or get back to you with an answer later. Hi, Katie. What do you think of my footprints thing? I saw that you liked it online. Period. It's good to be actually doing something on camera that's worthwhile. On another note, Katie, you should be getting your box tomorrow. So I'm going to sign off if nobody has any questions. And first of all, I'm going to show you, I'm going to take my phone down and show you how this has been moving. So it has come up on the sand a little bit and into the footprints, but I'm not really worried about it. I think it looks really good. Right now you're looking at it upside down, but it's okay. You get the idea. So I like how it looks like the waves are coming up. I didn't get that effect yesterday. So I plan on leaving the texture the way it is and not put a top coat on it because I think it adds depth to the piece. And this is the shell. It is, I'm going to spray that. It's got bubbles. Let's spray it. Just a couple bubbles. But I'm going to finish. I'm going to sign off. Hi, Jim. Katie, I've always liked that poem as well. And when I saw the picture of a piece similar to this, I absolutely had to do it. There was just no question. I had to do it. So this is what came out of it. And I'm not one to do beach pieces because everybody does beach pieces. I don't want to be in everybody. I want to do my thing. And this is me doing my thing. Okay, I'm going to go. I appreciate you watching. This is what I do now. And again, if you have any questions, just shoot me a message or put a message on this feed and I will answer you. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon. Maybe sooner than I think because I can't hit the finish button. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Bye.